Hello everyone, this is Agent Ice and I'm back with another level design deep dive video. In my last video we covered Green Hill Zone, a beautiful paradise full of greenery and water. In this video we're going to cover Marble Zone and what it has in store for us. Now, if you didn't see my previous video, I highly suggest you watch it first. That being said, if you have love for Marble Zone, feel free to stick around and check out my Green Hill Zone video later. Let's begin. Marble Zone really only makes 2 appearances in the Sonic the Hedgehog games. That is, of course, if we aren't counting remakes of the original Sonic like Sonic Origins. The first being, of course, Sonic the Hedgehog, the second being Sonic Drift as a track named Marble. That being said, it did show up in the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon as well as the Archie comics and LEGO Dimensions. Though it isn't as prevalent in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise as Green Hill Zone, it still does have some presence. If we look at the zone itself, the design of the buildings is definitely influenced by Greek and Roman architecture. In the foreground we see buildings damaged by age, columns in various states, ruins covered in moss, and lots of lava. In the background we see several trees, dilapidated structures, some large purple hazy mountains in the far back, and dark blue skies with lots of light blue clouds. It really is beautiful in its own way. They do a good job at showing that the ruins have been abandoned and left to time and nature. Yeah, no. Besides Robotnik showing up recently with all those robots. It leaves you wondering what happened. Where did the former inhabitants go? Maybe they left due to the scorching hot lava we see. For all this lava, there does not seem to be any indications of an active volcano. All that being said, this zone is one large iceberg. What you see above ground is only part of the story, because much of the construction is actually underground. Quite an engineering feat for sure. I hope they had air conditioning. The sinister underground contrasts quite a bit with the beautiful and rather peaceful scenery above. No more bright colors and foggy mountains. Instead, we get lots of dark purple bricks, torches, pictures, and cutout windows with bars. What's more, there are lots of things that will burn, crush, or poke you. It's almost like a dungeon of sorts more than a building suitable to live in. What exactly was the purpose of these buildings anyway? Unfortunately, the game never tells us and there isn't anyone around to ask anymore. Since most of the architecture is underground, maybe the lava seeping into the underground caused them to flee or swallowed them up. Now let's talk about the story elements. In Green Hill Zone Act 3, we had to take on Robotnik, and we found out that he was not just making all of these robots, but putting the local animals inside of them as well. Sonic busted open the storage capsule that Robotnik left behind and freed the captured animals before pursuing him as he fled Green Hill Zone. Sonic's pursuit leads him to a mountainous area full of ancient ruins known as Marble Zone. Robotnik seems to have disappeared, and Sonic is looking for him. Bye-bye paradise and hello lava and ancient ruins. Sonic must survive the dangers of the ruins, both topside and underground, before eventually catching up to Robotnik for yet another battle, and smash open yet another capsule as he pursues him again. Let's look at the difficulty and feel of Marble Zone. Things are a lot different from back in Green Hill Zone for sure. The various hazards and several elements of the level design will force you to take things at a slower pace. The platforming elements also become a lot more important as you will need to avoid dangers and make more precise jumps, all while you avoid taking damage from enemies. Marble Zone truly will put your platforming skills as well as your patience to the test. This is a fairly decent spike in overall difficulty from the previous zone, and I would rate it a 6 out of 10 for medium difficulty. It is tough, no doubt, but it is very survivable. So I've mentioned these before, but let's talk about the environmental hazards. There are a plethora of environmental hazards in Marble Zone. Of course, you have the lava, the lava and the lava. Lava pools, lava that chases you, and lava falls. You have launchers that'll shoot fireballs at you, as well as fireballs that shoot out of the lava in certain places. Oh, and don't forget about those burning platforms. It's a hot mess. Next up, you have all of the things that will crush you. You have weights and metal crushers with spikes on the bottom that are lifted up by chains and eventually fall down to the ground with full force. These of course will instantly kill you if they land on top of you. You also have these weird green crushers with 2 cylinders inside of them. They move up and down slowly, so they aren't too bad. Next we have many types of spike traps, especially those on the stairs, many of which will spring out before retracting back in, only to spring back out seconds later. Of course, environmental hazards aren't the only thing you have to worry about here in Marble Zone. You also have the enemy badniks. Though there isn't as big of a variety as there was in Green Hill Zone, there are still a few badniks we need to watch out for. The Buzz Bomber, our old friend, is going to return from Green Hill Zone, still trying to show up, shoot at you, and fly off. They are really buzzy, trying to make our lives hard. See what I did there? Bat Brain. These guys just kind of hang from the ceiling and swoop down and fly at you whenever you're nearby. Eventually they'll swoop back up and hang onto the ceiling again. Caterkiller. This is the one that will get you in this zone. The Caterkiller is only vulnerable at its head. It kind of does the worm, and if you touch anything but its head, it breaks apart and all of its spiky body flies all over the place. Some of the spots they place this badnik make it very inconvenient. Good luck if you catch it during a turn because you've no way to nail it in the noggin. This is Marble Zone Act 1. As I mentioned before, this zone is a huge iceberg, and you can already tell that from the Act 1 map, and it only gets bigger. This might actually be the most straightforward level in the entire game, though. There's only one route through the level. That being said, there are plenty of new hazards to learn about. You start out on some grassy looking bricks, and it's pretty clear that we're in some kind of a ruins area. Walk forward a bit and you see your first sign of lava. Anyone that has ever played any platformer knows that the lava usually is not a good idea to touch, and if you do end up touching it, you will learn that lesson real well. As soon as you jump onto the rectangular platform that bobs up and down in the lava, our old pal the Buzz Bomber arrives to take a shot at us. You either take him out, or you let him shoot and scoot. Either way, he has a Caterkiller buddy hanging out. This is the first time we've run into the Caterkiller, and of course we need to figure out how to defeat it. Do you jump onto him with all those spikes on his back? Or do you take him head on? Landing on the spiked back causes him to break apart and go flying everywhere. But smacking him on the head destroys him and releases a little animal. You either learn how to deal with them through trial and error, or you avoid it altogether. Either way, you continue along the path and find another Caterkiller and a Buzz Bomber. You also see your first fireballs that shoot out of the lava. If you're rushing through, you might get nailed, but odds are you noticed the fireballs when you took your time with the badniks in the area. Get past the lava and work your way down a steep incline. Paying attention? There is a huge-ish room inside the building with 30 rings worth of ring boxes. Not too bad. We're going to need those for a shot at the bonus stage later, so you'd want to grab those. At this point you see several floating platforms in the lava, but there's a catch to these. They start to catch on fire after you stand on them for a second or two. Where before we had to slow down for the sake of caution, now we need to book it across the lava via these platforms and down another incline, where we'll find a shield power-up. You will notice a ledge above you, but there's nothing up there to see. If you're playing Sonic Origins, you can play as Tails and Knuckles and climb or fly up, but it doesn't go anywhere and you can't get over the wall as a shortcut. Now it's time for your first taste of the underground. And no, this isn't Sonic's Underground, the terrible musical cartoon, so don't worry. Once you get inside the underground area, you're going to run into some green crushers. And like I said before, some elements of Marble Zone are going to make you move a little bit slower, and this is one of them. You'll need to wait for the crushers to come down and come back up and get past them. Of course, at the end, you're rewarded for your patience by the game throwing a bunch of badniks at you. These guys are called bat brains, and they aren't really too much to worry about. You're also going to have to clear some spikes, but really it's no big deal. You end up on top of a spiky crusher, and you've got this green block and what looks like a switch, and maybe you drop down and touch the switch to see what it does. And you notice the platform raises, but as soon as you jump off, it comes falling back down. So, really, if you've played anything with any puzzle element to it before, you can probably figure out you need to push this block into this square-shaped hole to keep the switch pushed down. And that's exactly what you're going to do. Once you push it and it lands on the switch, the platform will raise and you'll be able to drop down. You don't need any tutorials or any fancy voiceovers to tell you that you need to do this. It's pretty straightforward, and they're teaching you a lesson that you're going to use over and over again as you play through Marble Zone. And really, that's what you'd expect from an old school platformer, right? The game to force you to learn and kind of teach you gradually as you get through it. You have to learn to adapt to the situation and figure out how to get through. Sometimes it's pretty easy to figure out, other times maybe it takes a little more effort. You're going to drop down and you're going to see something else that's kind of new-ish. We've seen spikes pointing out of the wall before, but we've not seen any that retract. And here we go. As you drop down the narrow little passageway here, you're going to see these spikes, and you gotta make sure to avoid them. Otherwise, you're gonna take some damage and lose your rings. Once you make it all the way down, you'll see on the left you're rewarded with a checkpoint and a shield power-up. Of course, you're gonna grab these things if you need them, and there's a good chance those spikes hit you, so you might need that shield after all. This is your reward for figuring out how to make it this far. Not too bad, huh? Of course, this reward comes right before another major challenge. You make it past the green crusher, and you notice that there's a room that's just got a bunch of lava and no floor. So what do? Well, you look around and you notice that there's some very suspicious blocks moving up and down on the ceiling, and if you get close enough, they'll fall down. So what we can figure out from this is that we need to use those falling blocks to get across, since they just kind of float above the lava. However, once again, you don't want to take this too fast. If you do, you might end up underneath one of the blocks and get crushed. You also might end up just not having a platform to land on and getting hit by the lava. And at this late stage of the game, you definitely don't want to be losing your rings because you won't be able to get 50 by the end. So you take it kind of slow and patiently make it across the room. Once you make it across, you see a wall that you can go up part of, and shortly after that you're probably going to hear a loud thunk sound. You're also going to see one of those spiked crushers just inches above your head. If you were going a little too fast or trying to jump up the wall, you might have just got nailed by it. Again, pays off to be a little slow and cautious in Marble Zone, at least until you know what to expect. That being said, you go up the wall a little bit and wait for the crusher to come back down, and you realize, hey, I can jump on top of this and use it as a platform to get up. And that's exactly what you're going to do. Jump on top of the crusher, go off to the right, and use the green moving platforms that keep popping in and out of the wall to get even higher. And then you're going to see a falling weight and another crusher, and of course, you're going to do what you did before. Jump on top of those bad boys and ride them up to the top. Soon you're going to be outside of the underground area and you can take a nice deep breath. And know that you're finally done with the underground section in this act. That being said, there's going to be underground sections to the next two, but for now you can enjoy the nice sun and the clouds and the greenery. But you're not done with the act yet. Oh no. You gotta keep going just a little bit further. You're gonna see some more badniks, and you're also going to run into more lava pits you have to jump over with fireballs that shoot out of them. Again, be careful, make it past these obstacles, and get to the goalpost, and then jump through that ring for a chance at the bonus stage. Want to know a secret? If you jump on that first crusher and hug left on the wall, you'll eventually go through it into a hidden room where there's a 1-up and 4 ring boxes. Not too bad of a reward, and if you're kinda low on rings for whatever reason, it's a good way to get your ring count back up so you can have enough to do the bonus stage at the end. Now that you got your feet wet, warm, it's time to take on the second act of Marble Zone. Look at this mess. Sure, it starts out simple enough. Right off the bat, you get attacked by a caterpillar and 2 buzz bombers. Better either take it slow or rush through, because otherwise those fireballs will jump out of the lava and nail you. That being said, don't take too long waiting on that platform, or the moss isn't going to be the only thing that's on fire. You make your way down a slope and see a switch. Remembering that these do things from the previous level, you jump on it and the green crusher falls, opening a path forward.
Huzzah!
You are then greeted by a bat brain and met with a green movable block. You remember the last time you saw one of these, you had to push it on a switch. However, there's no switch this time. Some might just throw their hands up into the air and give up, but we don't do that here. You push that block into the lava and find that somehow a stone square block is buoyant enough to float on a lava pool. Who would have thought? What's more, this block continues forward through the lava. However, you need to jump onto a platform or you will get scraped off the block and fall into the lava below. You notice that there are other platforms floating. You just ride the green block to the other side, but where is that sense of adventure at? You make your way up and to the right instead, and you find a ring box and a shield power-up. Not too bad. Just be careful because there's a caterpillar hiding in the monitors. That being said, if you roll onto them, you should be good to go. I think this is the only point in the game where they intentionally hid an enemy inside of item boxes. Kinda sneaky. On the way back out of the room, you noticed your first lava fall. If you were moving too fast and timed it wrong, you might have ended up taking a shower in some scorching hot lava. What's more, if you get past that, you have not 1, not 2, but 3 fireball launchers trying to shoot at you. Better be on your A game to avoid all those fireballs. Hey, if it wasn't challenging, it wouldn't be a game, right? Next, you find some green movable blocks that you push to gain access to another area deeper in the ruins. Here you'll see a magical wall of lava that sits there until you start moving toward the right. The lava then follows you. Fortunately, this lava is slow, but take your time and it will damage and consume you. Just watch out for those retractable spikes. They could slow you down or squash you if you end up on top of them when they shoot back up into the air. Make it through the narrow hallway, and you're home free. Now you have some platforms with retracting spikes and bat brains. There's really nothing worth going up top for unless you really want those 3 rings, but it may cost you a lot more than that if you mess up the jump. Continue along and you'll see swinging platforms over a pool of lava. It's a platformer game, so do the platforming thing and use them to get across. Once you get across, watch out for the 2 caterpillars. They should be facing you, so it shouldn't be too hard to deal with them. A simple rule will do. Just make sure you don't overdo it and hit the red trap spring behind them. It'll send you flying back into the lava pool you just cleared. That would be pretty embarrassing. Avoid that red spring and make your way up and hit another switch to open a path up. Here, you have a shield power-up and another movable green block. You remember what to do, right? Push that block and ride it across. Now you have a few options for proceeding. You can take the slow method by riding on the block, or you can ride it to the first platform and then run and jump to the next platform and then up top. You can also make your way to the hidden area you may have caught a sneak peek of earlier as you cross the lava pit. This hidden room has 2 ring boxes and a 1-up box. Not too bad. From here, you can leave the room and ride the floating block back where you started, or try to get enough inertia to jump onto the ledge above after jumping off the first floating platform. Some of these jumps might be harder to make in the original game than in Origins due to the physics difference between the 2 games, so keep that in mind. Make it past the caterpillar, and up a couple of moving block chains, and head to that checkpoint on the left to get yourself a ring box. Ah, fresh air! We must be close to finishing, right? Sorry, but this is only the halfway point, and they've already thrown everything in the kitchen sink at us, or so it would appear. Think about it. We had an enemy hidden inside of item boxes that could have very easily hit us. We had lava falls, fireballs being shot at us from 3 different locations, lava that chased us, a lava pit to go over with floating platforms, and then a block we had to ride to get across lava on a couple of occasions. It's been pretty crazy. And of course, they do all these things to make it a little bit challenging and add a little bit of a puzzle element to it. But it also slows things down a bit because we can't just rush through. Anyway, you still need to survive the other 50% of Act 2. And we have some more platforming moments ahead. So there's going to be lots of jumps over lava pits that involve these annoying little fireballs that jump out of the lava. Better get your timing right, or call the fire department for those 3rd-degree burns. Make it past the jumps to get to the top of the hill. Deal with a few bad nicks and make your way down the slope. Again, if you're paying attention, there are some ring boxes in a hidden-ish room below the slope. Grab those for 20 rings and say hi to the bat brains that are just kind of hanging around. Head to the right and go down another slope. Now you have these green blocks to deal with. If you jump and move correctly, you could really rack up some nice points and put it toward earning another life. Can you get all 17 blocks in one jump? I know I can. Playing the Origins version with Amy Rose? Between her and that Pico Pico hammer, she can really crush those blocks. Once you make it through, you get a shield power-up and a bat brain and a caterpillar. You know what to do. Just watch out for the double lava falls ahead. Get your timing right, you take the leap of faith across to the other side and get an invulnerability power-up. Enjoy a few seconds of not having to worry about lava and death, and book it across the lava pool to take out those caterpillars before making your way up via the falling spiked crushers. Eventually, you touch grass once again. Hold up! The end is near! Not only that, but if you're playing this as Knuckles in Sonic Origins, You better get your jump right by making it on that little bump before the goalpost so you can make it to that bonus ring. Knuckles might be able to climb and glide, but he sure can't jump, and he needs to proceed carefully to touch that bonus ring. Anyone else can make it without much of an issue, fortunately, especially Tails with his flying ability. He's so cheaty. Pat yourself on the back because you are now over halfway through Marble Zone. One more act to go, and it's going to put your skills to the test. This is it. Just like Act 3 of Green Hill Zone, you're going to be facing a boss at the end. On the bright side, that means you can play a little bit more loose and not worry about losing your rings. After all, there's no bonus ring at the end of Act 3. That being said, you still need to bring your A game, though. No pressure. Let's take a look at what we're in for. If you hated Act 2, then I can promise you're gonna hate Act 3 as well. This is another long one with lots of windy paths and danger. Remember the intro when I said the underground was a dungeon? Well, I wasn't lying, and now you have survived long enough to experience it for yourself. Once again, we start outside and make our way past a caterpillar and 3 buzz bombers before going down a slope. Now you have to make a choice. You can take the path to the left, Path A, or take the path to the right, Path B. This is the first and last time that we're going to actually have a choice of 2 paths. Not that it really matters because they're going to merge together later on anyway. Going along Path B takes you inside past a caterpillar, a spiked crusher, and a few weight crushers, and a green crusher. And then some of those breakable green blocks that give you points. You can also get a ring box for going this way at the very end of the path. Now, if you decide to continue along Path A, it'll bring you to a ring box at the very beginning, which you can still grab if you decide to go the other way too, and leads you downstairs where 3 fireball launchers are waiting. Just remember, if you can dodge a fireball, you can dodge a ball, so prepare to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge to get through here. If you get the reference, leave a comment. Now you need to make it over 3 weights that slowly rise up to the ceiling before falling back down again. Of course, thanks to your experience in Acts 1 and 2, you know that you're going to use these crushers as platforms to get across the lava. They just keep reinforcing that concept over and over in Marble Zone. Of course, once you make it across, you can choose to go past the 2 slow-moving green crushers to get that shield power-up. Could be pretty handy. Or you can just continue along after the floor crumbles beneath you and drop down and hit the switch to drop down the green crusher and open up the path. Of course, this is where paths A and B merge. Well, that's the end of your path variety. Hope you enjoyed it while it lasted. That being said, I ain't complaining. It makes it a lot easier to make this video. Once again, you're going to run into a green block and have to ride it across the lava. Again, no real surprises here. You've already seen everything that they're going to be throwing at you for the most part. Besides maybe the final boss, which will be coming up shortly. It's very important that you don't try to rush ahead here because there's no platforms to land on once you get far enough. And you need the lava to erupt underneath you to push the block up into the air. This will happen twice. If you jump off at the first eruption, you want to go to the left, and then hop on the green blocks coming out of the wall, and then use those to jump onto the floating platform that's kind of in the middle of the gap, and then go over to the other side. Or if you're patient and you wait for the second eruption, you can just kind of ride it up there and jump off on the right side, and not have to worry about the extra jumping. Personally, I vote for option 2 every time. Just watch out after making that jump because you've got a caterpillar and some spikes to avoid. Get past the spikes in this narrow hall and find 2 spiked crushers. Make it underneath the first crusher and go down the stairs. There, 3 fireball launchers will start taking shots at you. Fire up! Another round of shots!
Drop down for what?
Sorry, I just couldn't resist. Now, if you do decide to jump onto the other crusher and walk into the wall, you'll end up finding yourself a 1-up in a hidden room. Not too bad. Once you get past those fireball launchers, you will see retractable spikes on the stairs. Be careful here. On the plus side, you can stand on the spikes, you just don't want to touch the tips, or then it'll hurt you. Also, watch out for that caterpillar below. He's likely going to have his back turned to you, and so you will need to wait, or take a hit by walking into him to get past. Also, watch out for that red trap spring. Again, folks, it's Act 3. They're trying to make this hard. They're trying to test your patience, and they're trying to kill you. Soon you're going to have another lava pool with more swinging platforms. However, there's a catch. To make things harder, they have fireballs that shoot out of the lava below where the platforms meet. Better watch your step. Once you get across, deal with another caterpillar. If you go up to the left past the retractable spike on the floor, you will find a checkpoint and a shield power-up. You might be happy to have that shield by this point. Next, make it past some more spikes and some slow-moving green crushers. Again, they don't want you zooming through this zone. You're going to have to take it nice and slow, whether you like it or not. Break down more green blocks and squeak past the green crushers. Time to exercise a bit of caution. There's a green floating block below and a lava fall. Trigger the block and wait for the lava fall. Lose your shield already? Well, you're in luck because here's another one. Grab it and drop down onto the green block and make it across. You could try to get across either from the floating platform or jumping off the green block below. Just don't take too long or it'll sink into the lava. If you're playing Sonic Origins, you can stand on that last floating platform and charge up a spin dash and shoot across the gap. Easy peasy. Marble Zone's all about the 2 P's. Platforming and patience. And if you haven't learned that by now, well, I don't know what to tell you. That's where the challenge comes from. And at the same time, let's be honest here. They also don't make the game overly difficult. Let's say you do screw up and you take some damage. At least you can pick up a ring and keep going. So I think Sonic has a pretty good balance. Next, you're going to make it over to the far wall, and you're going to hear the lovely sound of a spiked crusher falling right above your head. Once again, you're going to use these crushers as platforms to make your way up. Watch out for the family of bat brains up above, not that they're really going to be that much of a threat though. Once you get past them, you need to be careful though. Why? Because you have retractable spikes on the stairs going up. Don't get poked, but remember, you can land on the spikes as long as you don't land on the tip. Make it to the top and say hello to another caterpillar and 2 bat brains. Once again, you're going to get another slow-moving green block to push into the lava and ride on. Like before, you can ride it the whole way to the other end, or you can run and jump between each of the floating platforms to get across. Once you get past the lava pool, you're greeted by 2 bat brains and a spiked crusher. If that wasn't enough, you also have spiky stairs to worry about. again. Get halfway up the stairs and there's a ring box waiting for you as a reward. However, you better be careful or you're going to be losing those rings, because you have 3 fireball launchers to watch out for just above you. Once you reach the top, you have spikes to worry about, a few bat brains, and some falling weights that you're going to use as platforms. They're testing your platforming skills here. Miss a jump, or land on the spikes, or let a bat touch you, and you might fall all the way down into the lava pool below. It's best to take it slow because you will get punished for going too fast. And also, there's retractable spikes at the end, and if you get hit by those, well, you may just fall all the way back down into the lava pool below. Then you gotta make your way back up and back over again. And that sucks. Once you get past those retractable spikes and you get up the stairs, you're now outside for the last time. That's right, you never have to visit that dungeon again, at least on this playthrough. Get past those jumps with fireballs, and you are a hop, skip, and a jump away from the boss. Grab that checkpoint and continue to the boss fight. The boss is called Egg Scorcher, and for good reason. Robotnik will drop fireballs on you that spread across the whole platform. Meanwhile, you have fireballs that leap out of the center when you hop across the other side to get away from the fire. Make sure you keep at least 1 ring through the fight so you survive. Get 8 hits on him, and that's it. You've defeated him and you can collect your prize, the animal capsule at the end. And of course, from there, Sonic will chase Robotnik all the way to Spring Yard Zone. But we'll cover that in another video. And hey, as bad as everything was here, at least there weren't any UFOs. Right? Right? Uh-oh.